Whether it's quick refreshment from the European-style bistro cafe Baker Street at the airport, or the innovative sushis and delectable dim sums at Yumi, or perhaps a fine dine experience at the Punjab Grill, chances are that you've been a patron of Lite Foods. The company has over 23 of its own F&B brands and 9 managed ones, with over 200 outlets. Founder and chairman Amit Burman is scion of the Dabur family. His friend and director Rohit Aggarwal and he have put together this collection of restaurants to tickle the taste buds.
Hello and a very warm welcome to a fresh new edition of Aspire. Now, when you talk about the restaurant business, everyone will tell you that you have to be extremely passionate to run it. But it's not passion alone that can make a successful restaurant business. You need to have a lot of business acumen as well. Something that two gentlemen who've dipped into their own experience running different kinds of businesses, one in the consumption space and indeed one in textiles, are joining us on the show to tell us how it's worked for them in Lite Foods, the company that they run together. We're talking about Amit Burman, who is of course the vice chairman of Dabur as well, and indeed his friend Rohit Aggarwal, who's the CEO of the company. Great to have you both with us on this edition of Aspire.
Thank you.
Do tell me, as far as your food journey is concerned, in setting up Lite Foods, what was the thought? Because at that point in time, there was enough happening for you in Dabur and for you in the textile business. So what exactly brought the two of you together and said, let's get into the F&B space?
I think it started off as a hobby. We started off with Subway, and both of us thought that health is something which is going to happen in India.
You saw that coming?
Well, it's happening now. Maybe not at that time, but this time. Yes.
But we did think of the health angle. That's why we called our company Lite Foods.
Yes.
We started off with Subway, and then
this was in Delhi when you started?
In Delhi. Yes, yes.
So the first outlet was in which area?
Rajouri Garden.
In Rajouri Garden. So predominantly
Punjabi
area. So they like their food piping hot.
Yep.
And then you were there selling thanda sandwiches.
Yeah.
Yeah? That wouldn't have gone down very well.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think now the perception has changed, and I think what it did for us was that we learned all the costs related to it, be it food costs, be it occupation costs, be it labor costs. We understood the percentage and how it should be streamlined in the restaurant business.
Right.
And then we started building our own brand slowly and steadily, because at that time a lot of these malls were coming up.
So at that time, the organized nature wasn't there at all.
Correct.
So then who were the malls, the managers of the malls dipping into to set up their food courts at that point in time?
All individual players.
So they were the same mom and pop.
Correct.
Same mom and pop shop. So in fact, I think our thing also happened by accident in a way, because Ambience Mall in Gurgaon was a big mall, 1 million square feet on crazy number of. It was unheard of at that time. The mall culture hadn't picked up.
Right.
So there was a food court being built, and I still remember our friend from PVR, Ajay.
Ajay Bijli.
Yeah,
at that time.
So Ajay came to us and he said, there's this food court which I have, and we need to put in concepts. There weren't enough concepts in the market at that time. So we decided, okay, let's create one Chinese concept. Or Indian, let's create an Indian.
Chinese. Which were these brands that you created back then?
For Italian and pasta, pizza concept, we created one called Pino's, which is still working there and very successful.
Only at that mall?
Only in Ambience Mall. We have one called Street Foods,
right,
which is now almost 40 outlets across India.
And prominently in airports, as I noticed.
Airports and malls. All the prominent malls in the country. And we have a third one called Asia 7 Express, which we got about 15 outlets across India now and expanding very rapidly across.
Just buying a huge chunk of space and then making sure that you populate it with your own brands. How did that idea strike you? Obviously, it must have been happening elsewhere in the world where you must have gone.
I think we saw, if there are footfalls happening in the malls, and even at that time there was more footfalls happening for food and entertainment as compared to retail. So we said that the more brands we have of our own, we probably gain to earn more than giving it to somebody else. So it's like me taking a space from a retailer or a mall developer and subleasing it. So there's not much money in subleasing, and that's not what our business model is.
Is it very different from the kind of businesses that you've run? I mean, you came in at a time, I remember, whether it was 2006, 2007, when Real Juices had just started, and you kind of pushed that in, and there were the homemade pastes as well. So that really kicked in another leg of growth for Dabur. So there was some understanding.
So we started juices and paste in 1999.
Yeah.
And by 2006-7 we had professionalized the whole company, and all that was merged into Dabur as such. So I had enough time on my hands to work with Rohit to create these kind of concepts and go into another.
So there wasn't much to do. So this is what you decided to concentrate your energies on.
Correct. That's correct. But even still, Real today is still my baby, and I always, I'm very happy to see what it's done and how it is grown.
This is an important part. I'm seeing your business card, and it has as many brands as it does over here, right? Is it difficult to scale as many brands all together at a given point in time? And looking at the time period that you've had, doesn't that kind of get divided? In fact, your energies and your concentration.
I think the focus we of course started with lots of brands, but we've kept our focus now to do more of the North Indian growth and a little bit of Chinese. So if you see, as he said, street foods has grown to 40 outlets.
Right.
Punjab Grill, we've got over 20 outlets now, and we even have international outlets in Abu Dhabi, in Bangkok, in Singapore, in Jeddah, and now opening up in the US. And because we went into travel retail, we needed brands like Baker Street or Asia 7 to populate those food courts, because those are short kind of locations. Of course, the rentals are much higher as compared.
Correct.
But the footfalls, we know every day what we're going to get, give or take 5% in the day, Monday to Sunday. In mall, that is unpredictable, because it all depends on the movie. It of course is the weekend, weekdays sometimes it's nobody there. But you have to keep your outlet running.
Yes.
So we went more and more into travel retail, and today I think it's about a balance of 50-50%, which is land and travel. So in the travel side, we of course needed to associate with other brands. So the focus has been onto our brands. In the travel side, we work with Burger King, KFC, Pizza Hut, Subway. We don't do that in the land side.
So this is what I find a little confounding, because you have your own brands to work with, and then you are managing certain brands as well. I understand as part of the travel retail part of it, you need that, but at a more managerial level, how difficult is it to kind of keep these portfolios of your own brands and the ones that you're bringing in?
If I may, I mean, we've developed, over the years, we've developed very strong teams. So if you look at our airport vertical, we have a very strong airport-centric team, because we've been doing airports now for almost 11 years.
Right.
So we have a very strong airport team. The airport team, the way it functions is very different from running on developing a brand like Punjab Grill.
Right.
Then you have a separate team for Punjab Grill, which drives that whole journey of Punjab Grill. So they're two different sets. The skill set is different. The way of thinking is different.
So tell me, there are the QSRs, and it's always high volumes that drive QSR business. There's no taking away from that. And then of course you have your casual dining and you have your fine dining.
Yeah.
Where is the traction more now? Where margins are high, is that the way to go? Or are you going to, because of the number of brands that you have, a lot of them are QSRs indeed, is that something that would work out for you in the growth story as Lite grows from here?
I can give you a technical answer to that.
Of course.
I think the thing is that we were seeing that the casual dining, fine dining business was a better EBITDA business. Obviously the margins were higher because the selling price is higher. But over time, as GST kicked into the whole thing, we don't get any input tax anymore.
Right.
So the margins have shrunk.
Right.
Having said that, that doesn't happen in the quick service business. So now the margins there are better than the casual dining as of today.
Which is so surprising.
That's why we moved from maybe 20 street foods to 40 within 1 year, because we've seen that change. The margins are higher, EBITDAs are higher, and therefore a little bit of shift in that.
Right.
But having said that, Punjab Grill has always been a very high EBITDA brand. We are very confident of the food and the operations team which we have.
Yeah.
So that is something which we are going on.
So Punjab Grill, just to kind of dip into that story, because this was something that was so closely associated with Zorawar Kalra and of course his dad, Jigs Kalra, for the kind of cuisine that they brought to the table. And initially you had a partnership going with Zorawar. At a certain point in time, you decided to buy his stake into the company. What led to that decision?
No, I think ZK wanted to move out, and that time he felt that he wanted to do something in the fast-moving consumer product space. He wanted to get into ready-to-eat food.
Right.
In the retail side, he had enough of the restaurant side, so he started developing those. And he came to us and said, "Look, I'd rather go that side. I've spent enough time here. Why don't you buy our stake?" So we were very happy. We did a valuation. We came to a conclusion. We shook hands, did the deal. We are still very good friends till date. He delved into the FMCG space and obviously probably realized there's a lot of marketing money which will have to go into that space. I think he realized that over time that this is going to take me a lot. So and then he went back to his core or what he does best, which is doing concepts of restaurants or doing restaurants, and that's where we are.
So, by way of the consumer and what they are seeking, because we are talking about what works better, whether it's casual dining or fine dining, QSR, from their perspective, as you see the market evolve, what have you seen by way of the change in patterns, by way of the consumption story? Because you deal with them, you talk to them.
Absolutely. I mean, the customers now are getting more and more aware of food, and everybody is now, so much into the whole Instagram, social media. Awareness of food is so high. We find like sushi once upon a time, when we were growing up, sushi was unheard of. Today, our children, when they're 7 or 8 years of age, they know what sushi and sashimi is all about.
Yes.
And now there's something called that poke bowl or ramen and all, which is getting
bowls,
which I've never heard of.
Right.
Sometimes surprises us because we started a brand called Yumi, which is a lovely concept, delightful concept we've created with Chinese. It's dim sum, sushi, ramen and robata.
Right.
Those are the 4 core areas of food, and it does so well.
I see.
So we opened one in Delhi and one in Bangalore, and the response is phenomenal. And these are dining restaurants. There's no bar as such. There's no bar scenes. Just serious food.
Right.
And the youngsters, it's all youngsters coming, all the youngs, 25-year-old, 30-year-old, up to 30 years of age, and they're just coming and enjoying the
Who are the most fickle? There is no loyalty to brands.
There's no loyalty.
So then,
but they're enjoying the food. They are getting a consistent food at a decent price point. It doesn't burn a hole in your pocket, but it's good ingredients, good food.
But then, I'm just wondering, the churn of your brands will need to be much higher, because if they are not going to be too loyal, as soon as they've understood your brand, they've tasted it, they've enjoyed it, they're quickly moving on to the next. And like you said, competition is really picking up steam. Yeah. So to that extent, then how do you kind of?
I think if you stay true to your business, or any business actually, if your raw materials are good and the way your concept, your service, all that builds loyalty. So they might go for some time and come back.
Right.
So I think if you know that I'm going to get really good food in Punjab Grill or in Asia 7 or whatever, I know I'm going to get really a nice bowl of soup or noodles or butter chicken or whatever. If the food is good,
but it's experimentation where it's at, right?
It is, but I think also got to do with location. And you have competition all around.
Yeah.
But like in a location like a Palladium Mall or Ambience Mall, there will be 3-4 different Chinese concepts or Indian concepts, and that's where your loyalty. And he talks about raw material, ingredients, the presentation, the atmosphere plays a big role in for people to come back.
Right.
And you're right. I mean, of course, kids are, like we all were, fickle-minded. They won't try everything, but they come back to what tastes good at the end of the day.
We'll take a break and talk about just that and much more. After taking this small break, we'll be back to talk with Amit Burman and Rohit Aggarwal of Lite Foods. Don't go away. Welcome back. You're joining us on Aspire, and we are understanding the F&B business, especially with Lite Foods, which has such a huge portfolio of brands. I was just asking Amit Burman and Rohit Aggarwal, who drive the company, how difficult is it to build marketing for so many brands that you have in your portfolio? Because that can be a huge drain on resources too. And you never know what's going to work and what's not, what's going to stick and what isn't.
I think on the marketing point of view, I think this is very different from FMCG marketing. First of all, of course, your product has to be good and appeal to the target audience you're looking at. But in today's age, word of mouth, social media, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all these things work. Of course, your Zomatos and the Swiggis also do a lot for what your brand is. So if you have high stars in those, of course, it makes a lot of sense to do that.
Yes.
And then you do a lot of marketing in terms of different festivals you do, different food promotions you do. Today in Punjab Grill, for the last couple of weeks, we're doing a millet menu, which is healthy.
That kind of innovation needs to keep coming in, right?
Has to keep on, and that's where that's where we spend money in R&D.
Right.
We see different concepts happening in the world. We come back, discuss with the chefs. The chefs go out and see it. We decide what we want to do in the Asian concept, in the Italian concept, in the Indian concept, and refresh and move.
And you involved in that process?
Definitely, we both have to be involved.
Totally drive it.
For sure.
Yeah. Personally, with our chefs, with our teams, constantly seeing what's working. When we travel around so much, you see concepts.
Yes.
You see other people doing lovely things.
Correct.
So yeah,
And
so
even you learn a lot in India.
Yeah.
Such youngsters are guys are doing such good concepts, amazing concepts.
You see the startups, and then of course you have, like you said, the entire ecosystem, the Swiggies and the Scootsies of the world, driving business for so many of these food startups too. And you're dipping into their abilities, right?
Of course.
Or are you trying to build that by yourself too? Considering what you're doing in the F&B space, I wouldn't be surprised if you say no.
Knowing Amit, you can't. Don't say no.
No, you can't.
Maybe next year we'll discuss that.
But where are you going to find the funds to keep doing this?
I think we are funding it ourselves as of today, and there is EBITDA coming in, which is allowing us to, go on and open more and more restaurants. At some point of time, I think where we are, we're talking about our street foods, from going to 50 to 100. We may go into an IPO, or if we have 10 other airports to fit out, we will need that cash to go for that kind of expansion.
What kind of monies are we talking about here?
You see, every concept, if you look at a fine dining or a casual dining, will cost you about 3.5 to 4 crores.
Right.
A quick service would cost you about 35 lakhs. So we have to do 50 restaurants into 30. You can do the math about, 115 crores or something, 150 crores. Casual dining is, again, if you even do 10. So you can take about 200, 250 crores from the market, or private equity, depending when we want to do it.
But how clear is the visibility on the profits that you are likely to make on many of these concepts that you've got going right now?
Today everything works.
Because everything seems squeezed at this point in time. Yes, Indians aren't eating out as much as many of the citizens around the world, but the expectation was that it would rise much faster than it actually has.
Yeah.
Has that taken you by surprise a little bit?
But I think the consumption story in India has been good and will always be good in the mid-market area. I think people are going out to eat, and I feel that it's in quick service and casual dining, it's only going to go up. And in terms of getting squeezed and all, I think yes, there are different taxes which come in, demonetization happens, but I think we all have to cost re-engineer ourselves like other people are doing to be ahead of the game.
Right. To be ahead of the game, at this point in time, how difficult does the task look? What are the challenges that you see are the most prominent right now for the growth of the business? We did talk about the funding part of it, and that's going to be the essential driver, because if you're going to keep these brands and sustain them over a period of time and perhaps add a few in the future as well, I'm just wondering whether the franchise model, all of these things, they must be on the table, right? How do you see that?
I think franchise model already on the table. I talked about international expansion. They've all been through a franchise model.
Yes. So is that the way to grow, even in the domestic market?
Well, I think in domestic market, I think franchise model is the way to go. But I think in the domestic market, what we would like to do is a person to invest into the brand and build the outlet out, and for us to run it and give him a return, rather than he runs it and gives us a royalty.
Right.
So what we've seen over time is that I don't want ever to lose my brand values and to make my brand lower as compared to what I give a consumer in my own restaurant.
Correct.
So I would go in that kind of model.
Right.
So I rather run it and give the return as an investor rather than you go into it and run it.
Right. We've seen contemporaries like a Blue Foods, which of course Everstone has, and then you're seeing that they're struggling with it, right? The kind of losses can be quite phenomenal. How do you contain something like that? Where do you think you can go drastically wrong in this kind of business?
I think predominantly poor choice of locations, where low footfalls are there, rentals are very high. That's one of the big big problems. Because that's very much in your control.
Like they say, it's location, location, location. Yeah.
Location is very important. And then the amount of capex you put in. You know, if you're dealing with a market segment which is 1,000 rupees APC, you don't want to spend a crazy amount of money to build the store.
Correct.
So these are the things which drive the whole ROI and the IRR of the whole business.
Correct.
So you have to be mindful of that.
Right.
The outlet has to be profitable. It has to pay you back within a certain amount of time.
And if it doesn't?
Well, then that's where the problem is.
No, so would you kind of take strong calls on kind of shutting down brands? And you have in the past?
We have.
Which ones did you have to let go of?
So the point is, it's not a question of axing brand. It's a question of the location.
Right.
Axing a particular outlet.
Yes.
Perhaps.
So you started with malls, you went into airports, and now I'm seeing you cater to the institutionals and the commercial spaces as well. That's something else, because over here I see a catering brand also emerge, right? Yeah. I mean, it's got all kinds of things happening.
So catering is, I think, probably a natural extension. In terms of, you know, we have all around India, we have our kitchens, which is the commissaries, which serves into the quick service and serves into the airports. So it makes sense to keep it sweating to have a catering business because of the fact that, you know, again, during if you're going to utilize 30% of the capacity, if you can utilize 60% by doing catering, you might as well, because there's no capex involved.
Right.
It's only a question of you doing good food and your brands being understood by the consumer, and they want you to be catering to their houses.
Right. What's your favorite kind of cuisine? You've obviously gone around experiencing the best in the world, so do tell us, because what you've enjoyed obviously is something that you would like to bring to the table for people here too.
More of a healthier side, so I like more barbecue stuff.
Right.
But Thai is also one of my favorite cuisine, which I like. I love spicy food. Talking about barbecue, I think you know, like we have a brand Punjab Grill, so we are trying to lend it out to a quick service, to a mid-market, which is a barbecue kind of a segment with a buffet and barbecue on the table.
Right.
And then of course the fine dining, which comes into Punjab Grill.
Right.
So it is an Indian concept all the way through, but in different malls is required differently. So, you know, tier 2 malls may not be able to absorb a Punjab Grill, but may absorb a barbecue.
Right.
So that is something which we are looking at. So we are moving away from what we are trying to do and not trying to do and more brands. But
creating differentiators is going to be an essential part of the business as you grow, but meanwhile it is important to keep your passions going as well. I know you have a flying license as well, something that you use. What do you do in your spare time when you have so many brands to take care of? Exactly. Exactly. But I'm sure you find it, right?
I know, I haven't flown for a long time.
No?
I used to fly in the US, but since I've come to India, I've not flown.
So then how do you kind of make sure that you get your free time and you're doing stuff that is recreational?
I think you know, we start early, very early, and try and finish off by 5:36. After that is all recreation for me.
Is it?
Yeah, and then weekends is good.
Yeah.
You spend time with the family.
That's excellent. You keep yourself very fit, and it's great to know that the brands are growing well. We will, of course, connect with you in the future to see exactly where the business goes, and the time that the IPO is ready to come out, we'll be talking to you too. Thanks for joining us on this.
Thank you so much.